We are back again with an episode of Secretly Frequencies, the podcast that meets labels and artists from the Secretly family and hears the untold stories behind their musical history. Before we bring in today's guest, let me introduce you to today's co-host, my eminent colleague at Secretly, Adam Nealon, the UK artist and repertoire director. Adam's been at Secretly just shy of 10 years now and has worked closely with today's artists throughout their time on the label. He and I often disagree vociferously about music, but mostly good-naturedly. I think he is mostly accepting of the fact that I am right about things at this point, right, Adam?
Yeah, I guess so, Tom. Maybe for the sake of this podcast, I'm gonna agree with you there, and then we can take this conversation another direction after this. Very happy to be here, though.
Okay, well, a rare occasion today that we're able to record this podcast in person. And what a pleasure it is. We're chatting today with Dana Margolin from Porridge Radio. Dana started Porridge Radio whilst at university in Sussex and added Georgia Stott on keyboards, Sam Yardley on drums, and Maddie Ryall on bass, who was replaced later by Dan Hutchins when Maddie stepped down. Dana's songwriting is, in my opinion, very visceral, and I don't know about you, Adam, but I actually think this line from a Pitchfork review of their second album is a pretty great way of describing them. Sometimes twisted, often transcendent, always incendiary. So the band came to an end earlier this year, and so it's going to be a really interesting chat today, a chance for Dana to look back over the 10 years she spent making music under this moniker, and maybe reflect on some of the amazing things they achieved.
Yeah, this feels really special. This is a band I've known and come to love for a long time now. It's a real end of an era, and it feels like such a great way to reflect on their legacy, really, and all the amazing music they've put out. I mean, they were a band that we'll find out more, but they went from being, when I first saw them, a very beloved DIY outfit into something so much bigger and so much more fleshed out, and became just one of the UK's great bands of the last decade. And really, yeah, I'm just obsessed with Dana as a front person. I mean, anyone who's seen them live will agree with me. She just has something so intense about her performance style, but it is also so welcoming at the same time. I'm always addicted to Dana's performance style and what she did with Porridge Radio. So I just feel honoured to be here and can't wait to get into it with her.
Nice one. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. And so let's add Dana to the chat. Okay, let's add Dana to the chat. Hi, Dana. How's it going?
Hello. It's going well.
Thank you for coming in today. Are you going to enjoy this trip down memory lane, or are you nervous that you're not going to remember your own songs?
I think I'm going to enjoy it because I'm already enjoying myself.
Oh, great.
So,
in which case, let's kick it off. Here's the first song.
I smile endlessly, and I'm crying so hard you can't see me, but you bark like a dog, bark like a dog, bark like a dog.
Barks Like a Dog from Rice Pasta and Other Fillers.
That's right, yeah, it is. Well done.
Thank
well
you.
done for remembering your own song.
Thank you so much.
So let's go right back to the beginning. You started off playing open mic nights. Are those the first shows you'd done? Was that scary for you? Was it challenging to put yourself out there?
Yeah, I'd never really thought of myself as a singer or a performer, or I'd always written in private. It was always a kind of embarrassing, shame-filled thing. I went to university and one of my good friends, Dan Raphael, I started playing music with him and he'd started doing open mic nights, and then he brought me along. And that was one of the first songs that I was kind of playing in those environments. But yeah, it was very new and weird for me.
Did you tell friends that you were going to be doing it, or did you just keep it really quiet and try it out a few times to start with?
I can't really remember. I think I must have gone with Dan and then maybe told people, but I never invited people. Even when I told people I didn't invite them, I did invite Josh, my manager, to come along because he was just a good friend at the time, and he came with one time and saw. I also, at university, I studied anthropology, and I did a kind of research topic on open mic nights in Brighton. So I would go around all the open mic nights and kind of do like ethnographic studies of them, and then sometimes I would join in because it was like participation in the thing that you're doing, the ethnography.
I think that makes total sense for how Josh always talked about these open mic nights to me, because he said that it was like you just had such a different energy compared to a lot of the people there and really just screamed into all these people's faces. It makes a lot of sense. For the first time like I ever saw you play, this was actually the song, and this is why I chose the song. It was the one that I was just, it like flicked a switch in my head because it was just so powerful, so intense, so raw, yet it felt like a kind of stadium song or something. Do you feel like that by the time you were playing it with the band, that was really influenced by those open mic nights, or did the band become something else once you started doing that?
It's like the band evolved so organically. I had no idea what it was, and it became... It's like I couldn't play guitar. Our first show, my housemate came on stage and tuned my guitar for me. I really didn't know what I was doing. I really didn't have any idea what it would be. And I always knew that I was like, if I get on stage and sing this song, I know what's going to happen, but I've never done it before. I've never screamed in front of people. I've never been loud. I've never been at the front of a stage. I've never wanted to be the center of attention. I've never wanted to be... I knew what I liked, and I was obsessed with bands growing up, and I was really into like a lot of punk music and a lot of this idea that you can do something without knowing how to do it, and especially like Riot Girl and all that scene that made me be like, oh, you can just like go up and not know how to do it and be loud and be abrasive and take up space, and people will just get on board with it because if you're quite a stubborn and bullish character, which I can be, it's like people you get to do things if you go, I want to do that, actually, I'm going to... And like people, my bandmates just got involved and they'd seen me play and they kind of trickled in from different places and were just like, oh yeah, we like this, we want to do it as well because it's fun.
So was there anyone specifically within that world that you looked up to, or was it more the general ethos of it?
It was definitely the general ethos. I remember I made a lot of zines at the time. I just loved kind of DIY culture, DIY bands. I was constantly on Bandcamp and SoundCloud looking for new bands and listening to music constantly. And I was just like, oh wow, look at all these people who are doing these things. It was stuff that was happening at the time, like around 2012, but also music from the 90s and before. And it was like there was just so much of it. I was like, oh, if like anyone can do that, you're just like slapping stuff together and go, and you can just put anything, you can do anything.
And you were in Brighton, weren't you? And Brighton had a really rich history in that world as well, hadn't it? Yeah, a lot of Riot Girl stuff in the 90s had come out of Brighton.
Did you? I'm guessing that really influenced how you made this first record, because I remember I've heard so many stories about the recording of this album that you did in a shed, right?
It was in Sam's parents' garden shed
Doesn't get much more right,
in
girl.
Overton in Hampshire. And it's like this kind of horrible, bleak village, I would say. Maybe they'll hate me for saying that. Like a kind of commuter village to Basingstoke. It's like not a... It was amazing. It was on an 8-track and Josh came and recorded it, and it was all very DIY. I remember me and Sam sat at the kitchen table and we'd been playing these songs for maybe a year, and we were like, okay, how do they go? And Sam was like, you have to choose a structure for these songs, because up until that point there'd been vocal cues that had been the changes. It was really just like the song was different every time we played it live, because I didn't even know how it went and I roughly knew what happened. So Sam was like, look, if we're recording it, you have to sit down and you have to tell me like what's the verse and what's the chorus. And that's been a theme as a band, is that I'll write a song, we'll be arranging it, and everyone will be like, you have to choose how it goes, and we have to, like, that's the chorus. I'm like, no, that's the chorus. Or like, no, that's verse 1, that's verse 2. Everything is structured so strangely sometimes.
Do you see those recordings then as just that's what the song was that day? And did you change it afterwards, or did that become, when you finally did put it onto tape, was that like, okay, we decided that is the official version of that song?
Every song except for Barks Like a Dog is one that became the official structure. But on that recording of Barks Like a Dog, I did, at the end, there's a kind of chorus that goes, I'm barking like a dog, whatever. And I did it one too many times, like an entire verse too many. And I always hated it. And it's even now I think about it, I'm like, that's just not how the song goes. But that was just what we did in the shed. And actually, I always really not liked rice pasta, because that was me figuring out that, like, roughly how things worked. I had no idea, and I felt like I had no control over how it sounded, or I didn't even know what I wanted it to sound like at the time. And I felt like it was just something that was done without me having any real, like, the way that I would have wanted it to sound. Did you ever listen to the Hello Dog Friendly EP?
I'm familiar with it. Yeah. It's not one I've rinsed. I've rinsed this album.
Okay,
so
I was
much.
obsessed with how that one sounded, and we probably would have made rice pasta sound like that.
That's really interesting. I mean, it doesn't sound shiny to me. Especially
Okay,
with...
Mr. A&R. Sorry.
Well, I mean, especially with where it went is what I mean, which we'll get to. But for me, this album feels like so like those early shows. But I remember meeting you early on, and you sort of saying that you did actually want to kind of get into a proper studio and work with a producer, or kind of figure out this bigger sound. What, like, was that still going through your head when you were making this, or were you really just going with the flow with rice pasta?
With rice pasta, yeah. I didn't even know yet what production I liked or wanted. It was really just, it was figuring it out and playing around and being like, we can record something. We're going to self-release this. This is crazy. We're allowed to, like, who allowed us to go and make noise and record it and go and, like, I booked a tour around it for us where we just slept on people's floors, and it was just like very, very DIY.
The pinnacle of DIY.
It was.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we'd never do that again.
But it's fun. It is fun to think about doing it. Not to do it now, but looking back on it.
Yeah, when
you
you're
see it as a
20,
fun
it's
time.
amazing.
Yeah. Okay, should we hear another song?
Yeah, go on. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. Don't you know what I've been waiting for? One, two, three, four. Don't you know what I've been waiting for? One, two, three, four. Don't you know that I adore you? That's Give Take from Every Bad.
Yes, that is. Well done.
Thank you.
So this was your first record for Secretly Canadian. I'd like to sort of ask a little bit about what it was like signing to like a big kind of global label. And obviously there was a fair bit of hype around your band, and you were speaking to quite a few labels. Do you remember that time where was it a nervous thing to figure out who you wanted to work with?
It was really terrifying. It was always a dream to be able to make records and release them with actual support to do it. And then suddenly we had the option. And also, because we'd come from the DIY scene and we'd been doing it for about 5 years before then, suddenly labels were interested, we were getting hype. And I was just like, what the fuck? Who are these people? Why do they suddenly care? And I couldn't understand it. And I was like, I'd seen it from being obsessed with bands. You see who the hype band is of the moment. So suddenly we were this hype band. And all I could feel was this kind of like cynicism of like, well, it won't last. And, you know, it's not real. But also I was like, this is incredible. And I can't believe that this could maybe be something that could grow and be my job. And it could be something that I could actually dedicate time to and have the time and could actually tour properly and could actually become something. I kind of wish that I'd taken it all in a bit more, but also it was happening so fast. I moved from Brighton to London that year. I was really depressed. I'd like just moved back in with my parents at 25 and I was like, oh, are we gonna get a record deal or not? Or like, who are all these people who suddenly care? What is this thing? I still didn't feel very confident as a musician. I think that came a bit later. Yeah, I don't know. It was a really weird time. It was kind of amazing. And then obviously we signed the deal and then we'd made the record before then. So before we'd signed or even talked to labels, I had all these songs that we'd been playing and I was really excited to make them into an album. We decided to record it without having a label, which was also quite stressful. And then I think we even released Give Take and Don't Ask Me Twice before we'd signed. And then later on, they were part of Every Bad. And some of the labels we were talking to were like, oh yeah, it will be an EP. And I was like, no, it's an album. You don't understand. This thing is an album. But it didn't feel like it had any structure to it. It just kind of felt like it was all happening in this insane way where I didn't really know if I had any control over it.
You definitely, I remember fondly these times where we were figuring out each other before you kindly did sign to Secretly, but you came across as incredibly confident and clear about what you wanted to do. And I think especially what was exciting was going back to the shininess. The shininess was appearing, like I think it not necessarily just it wasn't too shiny, it had all the DIY kind of feel about it, but a song like Give Take, which I had to pick because it's an absolute all-time classic, but it feels like a pop song, like a really Porridge Radio-y pop song. But when it came to recording and producing it and your ambitions for this song and this album, did you have that all figured out in your head compared with Rice Pasta?
Way more than Rice Pasta, like definitely more. And it's also nice to hear you say that and be like, oh, you know what, maybe internally I was in turmoil, but actually externally I had a sense of what was going on, or like I had a plan and I had a vision for things. But I think it wasn't quite it like, I guess it was actually, the production was a lot more kind of tight and pulled together. So in a way, yeah, I guess there was that.
I think it was, huge step up. It also felt like you and the band had really gelled together and you were like this really tight unit. But Sam, Maddie, Georgie, they were all Brighton friends. Like, how do you think they dealt with the kind of signing to Secretly after just approaching you randomly after seeing you in a pub, and like, how did that all feel for them?
I feel like everyone's like, oh yeah, that's cool. Okay, that's great. We'll go. None of them were ever thinking, oh, I want to be like a professional musician. I want to be a big thing. It was all of us were like, yeah, we just want to play shows. We just want to make music and we want to play shows. We were just so obsessed with this I look at it and I'm like, I was obsessed with it. So I hope that if they heard that, they wouldn't be like, we weren't really obsessed with it. But it was just like, yeah, we just want to play as many shows as we can. We hadn't toured properly yet. And I think for all of us, being in a band was a way to go to places that we had never been to, that we didn't necessarily dream that we'd go to. And the exciting thing was like, oh, we could do this. We could go and be part of this world that we've always idolized, that's always been just like behind the curtain.
So Adam touched on it a moment ago. Obviously, the rest of the band had been playing with you for a while, but actually I want to hear a little bit more about how they came up to you. What is this story?
It was so I'd known Josh, my manager, before he'd gone to uni. And because we'd actually, when we were teenagers, we'd gone out. And then he went to university and I'd sent him all of my demos. And he had played them to Georgie, who he met at uni. And she had become obsessed with them, all these songs that I'd written. So when I came to uni, she was like around and she was putting on like all-day festivals at the Green Door store called Fat Dog Party. Right. She was like, come play Fat Dog Party, like, come do that. So I did that solo. And at that show, I think, so I'm going to rewind a second. I used to make zines. I used to screen print T-shirts and jumpers. And there's a park in Brighton called The Level. And I had a stall there where I was selling these things that I'd made. And it was Sam's first week at university, and their halls were just down the road from The Level. They came down the road, stopped at my stall, picked up one of my zines, opened it to the middle page where they'd seen a double-page spread of reviews of local bands by Georgie. And they were like, oh, I know Georgie, because they're both from Hampshire. And Sam and also Dan, who's now playing bass in the band, had been in a band as teenagers where it was called the Gentry Underground, and they were just like sweaty teenagers who would rehearse every single day in the basement of like the parish hall or something in their village. And they were all like obsessed with Brian Jonestown Massacre and like being sweaty freaks who were always like outsiders at school and just like weird kids. Yeah. And they had a band they were obsessed with. And Georgie, who was a few years older than them and had lived nearby, was also like a weirdo who loved weird music and going to shows. So Georgie and then Josh Harvey at the time, who was also in the band, they'd known Sam because they'd like given them lifts around Hampshire to get to their various gigs, and they all knew each other from around. Anyway, Sam comes to my stall and they pick up a zine and like, oh, I know Georgie. And then they followed Porridge Radio on Facebook, and I had maybe like 20 likes at that point. Right. And I posted something like, oh, anyone play the drums? And they replied like, I play drums. And so I was like, okay, I've got a drummer. This is like... And then Maddie had been kind of friends with this group of friends, had seen me play at Georgie's Fat Dog Party. Her stepdad, I think, had given her a bass, and she called me up and was like, oh, can I come play music with you? I was like, okay, I think I've got a band then. Yeah. I think that's it. And then when Georgie saw that happening, she was always singing along to all the songs. I was like, why don't you come do that on stage? She was like dancing at the front. I was like, just come dance and sing on stage instead of at the front. And then Josh was in the band at the time. Different Josh, he was going out with my housemate. So he was like, oh yeah, can I be in your band? And I was like, I guess so. I don't know, fine. And so then it like became this band, and there were sometimes other members who joined. And then it was then like Josh Cohen, our manager, he was like running a DIY tape label, and he was like, I'll release it. And then later on was like, oh, can I manage you? I was like, I don't know if I need a manager, but okay. Yeah, you do need a manager, it turns out.
Right, let's hear another song.
You're wasting my time. You're wasting my time. Nobody's telling me was telling me anything, and you were wasting my time. You're wasting my time. You're wasting my time. You're wasting my time. And somebody had to tell you. Somebody had to tell you. Somebody had to tell you. And I'm glad it was me. I'm not in charge of everything. I'm not in charge of anything. And I'm glad it's not me. I'm glad it's not me. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what you're going through, but it's a waste of my time. It's a waste of my time. I don't know what you're going through, but it's wasting my time. And I'm wasting my life. I'm wasting my life.
That is Long, also from Every Bad.
So it is often really boring to talk about COVID. And I know people are really fed up with it. But I actually think it's quite an important part of the story around this record because your album came out, March 18th, was
13th.
it? March 13th.
2020.
In
It was 5 days before the UK went into
and
lockdown.
you were doing an in-store.
I think we
in
just
stores
finished
around-
it. We were about to go to America for the first time, do South by,
Yeah.
and we still hadn't toured properly ever.
Yes. Everything goes into shutdown and all the plans and all the things I expect you were probably really excited about suddenly got taken away from you. And it's probably not much fun to think about it, but I do sort of want to hear what your recollections of that time were like, because what should have been unbelievably exciting time for you must have been really difficult.
Yeah, I always hated that narrative of like, it was taken away and it was whipped away at the last moment and you, like, what could have been. Because I just, at the time, like, firstly, I really needed a break. We'd been going really hard for a really long time. And I actually think I was quite unwell and I was pushing myself to my physical limits. And I was really overwhelmed. I didn't really know how to ask for help or what help I needed. We went into lockdown and I just I think I just went to sleep for a few weeks. I was so tired. It was a blessing that I just got to rest. It was obviously a shame to not be able to go and do all those things, but we did them in the end. And you can always be like, oh, what would have happened if you'd have gone? It's like, maybe what would have happened is that within a couple of weeks, we would have had a huge fight. I would have had a nervous breakdown. We would have all had to go home and nothing would have happened anyway. Like, we don't know. Maybe not. I think also, like, I remember there was an article that was like, COVID stole this band's limelight thing. And I was always just like, it's so embarrassing that people would say that. It's just like, it really wasn't about us. And I kept just being like, oh, I wish people would stop making this, like, I got a chip on my shoulder about COVID. Like, it's not, I really didn't feel like it was about me at the time.
I remember that you actually used the time to make a lot of art and you went back into doing a lot of zines and probably quite a creative time for you as well then.
Well, I was still living at my parents' and I think I was just doing loads of like live streaming. It was very strange. It didn't feel very me. I kind of look back at that time and I look at all the kind of solo live streams that I did. I actually got most of them taken down that were saved on YouTube just because I was like, these are bad. I don't like them. I'm not somebody who should be sitting in front of a camera playing guitar one-on-one. I think it really doesn't suit the way that I would like to perform. And so I did manage to do a lot of painting, walking about, cooking. I got really into baking. I got really good at making babkas, like yeast cakes. I think I made about 2 cakes a week. It was very, it was a very creative time. And I guess I must have finished writing Waterslide in that time. Is that true? 2020? Yeah, because then we went in to record it in 2021.
Yeah.
So it was also, I was just like, thank God I have some time to write because I'm so sick of these Every Bad songs because we've been playing them for the last 2-3 years. And finally the music industry's caught up with this album and we've released it, but we've played it to death already.
It must have been truly bizarre because you'd already been playing these songs for so long. Then the album came out and despite it being COVID, it did exceptionally well.
So weird. I also had no idea that it was doing well. I had no reference point.
Right.
I had no idea what. I was like, everyone was like, it's doing so well. And I was like, I'm in my room. I don't know what that means. I've never
weird.
Played a show to more than like 50, 100 people when everyone was like, oh, it's doing really well. And it was only when we went on tour again that I was like, oh, all these people know this music.
Yeah, that must have been really bizarre. I was just
fucked.
thinking about that. As I was saying, you'd played it for so long. It then came out, it then had all this attention, and then when things opened up, you went back out to play it.
Went outside and I was like, all these people care about us.
How did that feel going from such an intense period of lockdown to then playing Every Bad, which by that point was quite an ancient album?
It was like quite insanely dissociative and confusing. And I kept playing the shows being like, all these people care about this. I don't understand where they've come from. What do you mean? And we were also playing Waterslide at the same time. And then we were also releasing Waterslide.
Yeah.
And we were touring 2 albums at the same time. It fucked my head.
Okay, let's try and fuck with your head a little bit more. Here's another song.
I've been waiting such a long time for you, and you know that I could never lie to you. You don't give me half the patience that I taught you. I taught you love, and you never gave me enough. And I can't tell you that I'm wasted, and I can't tell you that I'm wasted on you. And I think about your body, how it's wasting, and I'm wasted telling jokes to you, 'cause you can't hear me, you can't hear me, you can't hear a word I'm saying, and you're not here, but your body's getting closer every day, and I wait until I'm knee deep in water I can't breathe.
That is 7 seconds from Single.
Yeah. So 7 Seconds came out around the time that you were nominated for a Mercury Prize for Every Bad. Actually, it is probably fucking with your head because you were just talking about how weird the whole reaction to Every Bad was and then you get nominated for a Mercury as well.
Yeah, and they kept asking me to do front-facing selfie videos to be like, hey, everyone, I'm Dana from Porridge Radio, and this this is about me. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. Felt very weird. Sorry, I interrupted you. What were you saying?
Well, no, I mean, you didn't really, because my question is, was being nominated for a Mercury, I suppose I've got two questions about it, really. First of all, was it ever something that you aspired to? And then when it did happen, was it something you were excited about? Or is that just not something that is important to you in your musical life, really?
What it did was it allowed my family members to tell other people that I was in a band and that it wasn't just like I was fucking around at home. Right. I was like, no, she's Mercury nominated. She's like, your grandma can show off about that, which doesn't understand indie music. I didn't really know what it was. I never really engaged with that side of the industry. Again, like all the music I loved growing up was just so like in my 20s at least, I loved DIY bands. I was really obsessed with these really tiny bands who never really got any recognition. And so then we get nominated and I was like, oh, we're in this other one. It was like part of this hype that I didn't really understand. And now looking back at it, I'm like, no, that was amazing. That happened. But we didn't go to the award ceremony. It was like we filmed it on TV in lockdown. It was like we pre-recorded a live version of us playing Sweet, and that it felt so strange to me. And we all dressed in Vivienne Westwood, which was really cool, but also I've never really understood fashion or had any real interest in it. And I wish, like, I felt like I was just clawing around in the dark. And maybe that's just what life is. You're just clawing around in the dark and it looks like you know what you're doing and you don't. And you know, looking back at it, maybe I'd look at it and be like, wow, that was very tight and cool and we all looked amazing. But at the time I was like, what is happening? I'm so confused by it. But it was amazing because it meant that when we came back on tour, people wanted us to play. People wanted to book us. And it meant that we got to go all over the place. We got to play some incredible festivals. We did headline shows everywhere. We had an audience. And I think part of that was because of the Mercury exposure.
7 Seconds wasn't on every band. It came out as a single, like you said. But had you written it as part of a bigger project, it felt like a real step. I'm hesitant to say forwards or sideways, but it's a step in another direction as a piece of music. I would say, a very melodic song.
It's a banger.
Yeah, it is a banger. And is it something, I guess
like
it's
we still
something
play
really
it pretty much every
do?
show now.
Right.
It's really something that every show is like a fan favourite to play. And it was a really old song. It had been from kind of solo albums and I'd written it on a keyboard and it was about it was like very, so it was like, ba, ba, ba. And like I played it to Sam and they were like, what is this? And I was like, we're going to speed it up. Can you write a riff? And Sam wrote the da, 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 da. Like they wrote that. I was like, yeah, that's amazing. And that was 7 seconds long. And we listened to it on the loop and that's why we called it 7 seconds. It was just because we'd done that. And we came to arrange it as a band and it made a lot of sense. It was really exciting. I think I'd written it originally, I thought it would be on Waterslide. And then we got the Mercury nomination and I think we wanted to record, or had we recorded it anyway? I don't really remember.
You'd maybe recorded it, but I remember we wanted to put something out around that time because it just felt so exciting.
Yeah, and it kind of just made sense. And I thought it would be part of Waterslide, and it fits more in the sonic world of Waterslide, but it was recorded separately, so it also doesn't.
I distinctly remember seeing one of the Village Underground shows and standing behind what I can only describe as like a group of lads. And when you played that song, they did exactly that. It was like a kind of football chant for them or something. And it was a moment for me where I was just suddenly realised, wow, this band who've come from such kind of DIY humble beginnings are really, really just like connecting with this far wider audience. Is that something that you felt comfortable with at the time, that you wanted? Like, how did you relate that kind of thing happening with the DIY roots that you'd come from?
I didn't really know how to process it. I think even now I'm like, nobody cares about my band. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody's listening to this. It's so confusing to me that anyone cares. And I can't process it. The thing about it, I'm like, I don't understand that people like this and are connecting with it. It doesn't make sense to me. And I go about my life pretending that, yeah, obviously, of course people, but like, it's so strange. Like at the time I had no idea that was happening, that people were like, I could kind of see that they were because we were playing festivals and shows like this, but I just couldn't connect it, that it was, that people were connecting with it who were maybe from worlds beyond the DIY scene.
Right, I'm going to play another one now.
That's a great selection.
Adam,
I'm
well,
flattered.
A&R for a reason.
Unexpected.
So yeah, you've done a couple of collaborations, haven't you? What brought this one on?
I always loved Piglet's work. I just was a really big fan of his from just like, he was playing a lot of shows and I just thought he had incredible melody and weird ways of thinking about song structures and really deeply emotional and vulnerable music. And I just was a big fan. I was like, do you want to make a song together? Because I sometimes will just say, do you want to make a song together with someone? And then we do, and it's really fun. And this was just one of them. And it worked really well. We did it remotely. So we didn't meet up once during time. It was just sending stuff back and forth. And it worked really, really well. I really loved it. I haven't listened to these in so long.
Yeah, it was a trip down memory lane for me as well.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember with this, and there was a few others around that time that you were doing, and I think a lot of artists were just doing collaboration because it was the midst of COVID. This one in particular, I felt like was such a great example of your ability to kind of unlock a new sound with another artist, which I think is a real special skill in itself. But I mean, when you've done a lot of these collaborations, has that been quite a conscious thing in your head to sort of evolve the Porridge Radio overall world, or do you just let those processes be quite natural and just see what comes out?
I feel like Porridge Radio was always the way that I wrote, and then the arrangement was always in collaboration with my bandmates. And then to do something with other artists, it was like, how do I write in collaboration with someone else? Everything that you write becomes influenced by whoever you are collaborating with. And I think the best collaborations are ones where you just kind of bring yourself, and then you don't try to steer where the other person's ear takes it. You allow their ear to come in and steer you. So every collaborator gives you a different sound just because you step into the world of the way that they hear music. So I think Porridge Radio sounds a certain way. I think especially because of Sam and Georgie, who I've just collaborated with for such a long time, and the way that they hear the things I write, then that's what Porridge Radio, the band, has always been, which is also kind of why now the band is over. It makes sense to me, because it's like Porridge Radio is the collaboration with those people, and whoever I am outside of that has a bit of space to evolve and grow. But with those collaborations that I did in the past, I was like, okay, well, I'm bringing myself as a writer in as Porridge Radio, and just like see what grows out of whatever conversation I'm having.
Is there anyone that you would really love to collaborate with?
Lord.
Okay.
I hope she's listening.
Fingers crossed.
What is it about Lord's music or approach to songwriting that you love?
I don't know. I feel like she just, over the last however many years, I feel like she's just kind of been there for me as an artist whenever I've needed her. So I would just be interested.
And what about anybody else's collaborations? Is there any that you've heard that you think, oh, that is the perfect meeting of like two different musical minds?
I think, but everything is a collaboration. Like when you have recorded music, very few people are recording everything on their own.
Right.
And to do everything on your own anyway is, I think, quite sad, because as soon as you offer the thing that you've thought of to someone else, it can evolve and it can kind of push at its edges and become something new.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just want to pick at something that I'm just realizing I think is quite an interesting thing, which is you obviously talked about like in the early days and just growing up, you were really into a lot of DIY artists and bands. But something that I've talked to you about a lot over the years is people like Lord. Charlie XCX was like your favorite artist way before Brat. But
like long ago. I haven't actually listened to Brat. Is my secret. Don't tell me.
How you've avoided it.
I have no idea.
Is impressive. But I'm really curious. That's such amazing. I don't think a lot of people know this about you, that you have just such varied taste. And at some point, I guess, like your taste expanded way beyond just like DIY bands and into really quite kind of straight pop music. Was that, at what point did that happen, and what kind of prompted that? Or was that always your attitude?
It was a time I like to call my personal renaissance.
This sounds juicy.
I think it was actually just before, it was like when I wrote Sweet and Give Take, it was that era was when I was having my personal renaissance, and I was really into Carly Rae Jepsen and Charlie XCX and Lord and, you know, a million other pop stuff. It was great. I don't know. I think I've always loved music. I haven't always loved the idea that like I fit into a specific cult of identity that is my brand, is the indie music scene. It was always like, no, I just like music. I just like hearing stuff. I like learning about people through music. So as long as it's good, it doesn't really matter where it falls.
Yeah, it's a great attitude to have.
Right, another song.
A fear of death, a fear of dying. Why won't the dog pick up the stick? Panic sweats, you wake up crying, always feeling kind of sick. I want one feeling all the time. I don't want to feel a thing, and if I die then you can keep it. I won't tell you what it means. I don't wanna be loved. 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 I don't wanna be
first birthday party from Wardslide.
Yes.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's right.
I refused to perform this one. I think it's very bad luck to sing I Don't Want to Be Loved. And people really want me to play it.
How many times do you sing that
Like
motif?
56 or something. That's a made-up number, but it could be true. Maybe longer.
It maybe is that many
It's
times.
it's such a curse to place on yourself. So I stopped singing it. But occasionally if people request it, I will do it. But I have to kind of acknowledge that it's bad luck because otherwise it just makes me feel awful, terrible, bad. But it's an amazing song. I'm very proud of it.
It is one of my absolute favorites from this album. And actually listening to it again, I just can't get over how amazing your vocal take is on it. And you kind of do this sort of weird, like Porridge Radio rapping in a way. Like it's really, it's
That made
just,
me wheeze.
but it's this kind of stream of consciousness thing that is just amazing. And you definitely sort of, you go to the depths when you deliver things lyrically, both live, but specifically in the studio. I think that's not always something people are able to do. I mean, and yeah, as I said, this one is a great example of that. How do you kind of access that place to be able to deliver lyrically in such an emotional and vulnerable way?
I don't know, because something happens where I can switch into it just like that. Like I can just switch into that way of performing if I know that I'm performing. And it's like being possessed. Or if I know that that's the recording that's going to be on the album, then it's like, well, that has to be the performance. So then in the studio, I'm just there. And that's just what happens. And it's like when I was saying earlier, like before I started a band, I knew that the songs had to be delivered in a certain way. I'd never done it before. I didn't know how it was going to happen. And then I got on stage and it happened. And it's just the same. It's like, I know how it's supposed to go in my head. And if I've never done it before, then the first few times we were rehearsing it, I'm like figuring it out. And then if I'm on stage, it just belts out. And that's that. And also like part of why I feel like the end of the band has come is because I no longer feel that like that need to belt it out in the way that I really needed to do it back then. Like I really had something to expel, to, exorcise.
Yeah, like a therapy period of your life.
Yeah, like an exorcism period of my life.
That sounds way heavier, but I mean, yeah, it sort of makes sense.
But you're on stage and you're saying you don't want to sing these lyrics, but they're bad luck.
I
But
will
where do
occasionally do it.
Okay, but you'll
because people
occasionally do it.
really want it.
But where are the lyrics coming from you? Is it something is that where you start with songs? Do you start with the lyrics and then add music? Is it a bit of a mixture? I mean, lyrics are obviously a really important part of your band. It's a huge focus of it. Yeah. What's your process for that?
It's different for every song. But I think with that, I think that song actually maybe came into my head when I was walking around. A lot of the time if I'm traveling, walking on the bus, whatever, it'll be like, a fear of death, a fear of dying, won't the dog pick up the stick? A fear of death, a fear of dying, won't the dog pick up the stick? Like I remember sitting at the
There's
kitchen
that
table. Yeah, I'm rapping, guys. I've got great flow. I think that one, that was written during like the first lockdown, I think. And I remember I was just sitting at the kitchen table with those words going round and round. I was like, okay, well, you have to turn that into a song. And then when I have a little bit that needs to be turned into a song, then I'll take it. And then if I just start playing guitar, something happens. Again, it's like being possessed. I know that if I take myself to a chair and pick up a guitar and just make myself play and loop something and have ideas coming through me, like something will happen. And all I need to do is give it the space to land, and it will land.
So that is an important thing for you. You really like to allow the space. You don't like to overthink it. Is it fair to say you don't really overthink it? And you're quite happy to be quite vulnerable.
Yeah, well, I will overthink it afterwards, but like at first it's stream of consciousness. At first it's just let everything out. Don't think about too much. Be vulnerable. Nothing is going to be shared at this point. Nobody is listening or looking, and you have pure freedom to do whatever you want, and you don't have to share it in the end. And I always end up sharing it. And then people are like, that's so vulnerable. How are you so vulnerable? It's like, because I forget that real people can see me. Yeah.
I feel like we should go broader because we've kind of skipped over the fact that this is birthday party from Waterslide Diving Board Ladder to the Sky.
Of course.
Which, as you said earlier, you wrote pretty quickly after Every Bad came out, and it was during COVID. How did it feel writing that simultaneously with Every Bad kind of taking off? Did you feel that kind of pressure to then follow it in a particular way, or did you feel free of that?
I think every time we finish an album, even in the studio, I've already started writing the next one. So I'm never thinking about it like, oh my God, I have a writing period now and there's stress to create something I'm just like, it's just a continuous writing of songs, and eventually they fall together into a body of work that becomes an album. So I don't think I was thinking about it. I think I must have written some of the songs on Waterslide at kind of the end of writing Every Bad, maybe even some of them before, because they didn't all end up on Every Bad. I think there were a few that were kind of left off of Every Bad, like I Hope She's Okay Too.
Wow,
and probably some others if you show me the track list. And then and then as we're kind of getting ready to release Every Bad, I'm still writing because that's the bit that I actually like. The rest of it is kind of excruciating, but writing is really pleasurable and therapeutic. And then I was like, oh, amazing, we've got time at home. I'm just going to finish writing this record. I'm just going to write loads and loads. And so I just did.
Sky. No, I don't want the end, but I don't want the beginning. All the way down to hell, and all the way up to heaven. Crying hard on a phone call with my brother. Trying hard to keep it all together. From the start, waiting for warmer weather. Thought you were someone else. When do I surrender?
Waterslide Diving Board Ladder to the Sky from Waterslide Diving Board Ladder to the Sky.
Okay, yeah. So we need to talk about the title a bit here. How do these things come to you?
Again, I was possessed by it. It just landed. And I was like, that's what it's called. Texted my band, like, I know what it's called. It's called this. Everyone's like, yeah, that's cool. Okay. Sometimes I do that and they're like, no, it's not called that. You absolutely fucked. Like for Clouds, I want it to be like a 30-word long poem. And everyone was like, you can't call it that. So I had to make it smaller. But yeah, it just, it made sense. There was a lot of like going down, climbing up, a lot of like descending, ascending. Everything seems to always be about descending and ascending and kind of euphoria and then the depths of the bottom of everything and then everything in between. And I guess that, it symbolized that, and it just made sense.
It's such a visual title, and I think something that I'd like to talk about as well, the artwork for your records. Because I think the artwork for this one is my favorite, and it's a pretty kind of dreamy representation of the title. I mean, with the artwork for all of the albums, especially the first three, when you came up with the album names, did you have the kind of artwork in your mind at the same time, or did that come later? And how do you relate your paintings to the Porridge Radio world and the artwork you've made?
I think the artworks always come after the words and the songs. But I've always really enjoyed doing it as part of it. But it's like first the songs come. Once they're kind of figured out, all the imagery starts to fall into place and things. It's a very exciting part of the whole process, is that you still get to be creative even when you've kind of finished the bit that is truly creative. You still get to build a world around these songs. And that's what that was.
This song in particular, the reason I chose it, sorry, I'm being very selfish about all these choices because I've got particular questions that I've always wanted to ask.
That's way better. Defo.
You were touching earlier on this idea of a kind of exorcism that was happening and really like belting things out in a sort of very emotional, very vulnerable and very raw way. And this song definitely has some of those elements, but I remember when I first heard an early version of it thinking this is such a softer, gentler, ballady kind of moment. It was pretty much solo apart from some things Georgie added. And it felt like you opened up a new side to yourself. Do you think this is like a precursor to maybe things you want to do more of in the future? Or again, did it just come out naturally?
What's really funny about that, so we've been playing this one live a lot recently. And whenever I do it, people are like, oh my God, is that a new song? Is that new? Is that like unreleased? I'm like, no. This is an old song. And actually that style really speaks to the way that I tend to write. And usually when I'm writing, it's very much more acoustic guitar, quiet, and it's only when it comes to collaborating with my bandmates that it becomes what people think of as a Porridge Radio record, which is like it's a full band with drums and it's loud and it's got loads of backing vocals. But actually, if you listen to the demos to any of the songs, they often start out very soft and really much more in this style. And I remember that Waterside was the last song that I wrote for the album, and I think I'd already named the album Waterslide, Diving Board Ladder to the Sky, and then I'd written the song and been like, oh, it's the title track. I didn't realise. Cool. So it kind of just made sense in that way. But I really love how people don't necessarily know that's the way that I always write. And then it always develops into something that's kind of bigger. And it's been fun lately writing. I've been thinking about making arrangements much more stripped back, which I really am enjoying.
Okay, I'm going to play another one.
All right.
Been trying to forgive myself for wishing I was somebody else, for wanting you to love me back. But it's worse than that. Oh, you're wishing I was somebody else. You always said that I'm too intense. It's not that I'm too much. You just don't have the guts. Don't need to know.
wishing I was somebody else, begging you to love me back. That's God of Everything Else from Clouds in the Sky. They Will Always Be There For Me.
Perfect.
So this album is now going to be seen as Porridge Radio's final album.
Yeah.
And did you have any inkling when you were starting to make this or starting to write it that this might be your last album as Porridge Radio? And if so, did that affect the way you were thinking about it, or is it just the way things have ended up?
I didn't know at the time. I didn't think about it. I think we all kind of knew that at some point in the next few years, we all had kind of things that we wanted to do. So we always knew, for example, that Sam's going to university to do a psychology master's in Edinburgh in a few months' time. And that was always something that they've wanted to do that their whole 20s. And we were touring the whole time. And I was like, I know you're going to do this at some point because this is something that you're really passionate about and you really care about. And they've always worked part-time at an SEN college, like when we've been off the road, because that's really a big part of their life that they really care about. But it just always took a back seat to touring. And I always knew that eventually they would have to prioritize this thing that was their other passion. And I think that made a lot of sense to me. I was like, we're all different people and we've spent the last 10 years of our lives completely tied together. But at some point we are all going to unravel and go our separate ways and maybe want to have a bit of a more stable life and have a bit more security and a bit more health in our hearts and our bodies. Yeah, it wasn't a surprise to me, but I didn't know it at all at that point.
Right. Because I'll tell you, I was almost like reading into the title of this track, God of Everything Else, as that like, I wondered if you were saying that Porridge Radio had become the God of everything else in your lives and it's sort of dictated. But
wow.
I might be really reading into things.
That's great. Yeah, it was, in fact, so much of Waterslide was about being in a band. Like most of Waterslide you can listen to and be like, oh, that's about being in a band, my bandmates being on the road. But Clouds was really not about being in a band. It was really about two relationships I was in. It was really about these two people and then myself and gender and exhaustion, burnout from being on the road, being in love, being rejected, feeling abandoned, being burnt out. Like, did I say that already? I don't know.
You were doubly burnt out.
I was I was so burnt out. I was so fucked after touring every band in Waterside. It was painful. But yeah, really, I don't know if any of it was about being in a band. It was all kind of mythological self-ego death.
I drive into the suburbs where fairy tales and sit in silence for hours as it rattles around inside over the worst of it into the solitude. Find out the parts that still sing in the night, all the pieces of heaven. A home for the weak, places I'm never going, words I'll never speak to you. I hate you, sparrow, for the things that you'll never do. A tiring way to show love if it's true. You've got something inside and it's weighing you down. To see it just turn
Pieces of Heaven from Clouds in the Sky, They Will Always Be There For Me.
Correct. This one, for some reason, when I listen to it now, it reminds me of the show you played at the Pompidou last year. It was a really, really special show for people who obviously weren't there. Like, Porridge Radio played this very unique show at the Pompidou Centre in Paris, and there were all these other elements to it. There was some sort of miming, there was an amazing stage design, there was a sort of hugely ambitious, almost stop making sense type show that was pulled off. And it's not something that a lot of indie bands able to visualize and pull off in the way that you guys did it. Has that now opened up something in your mind for bigger or just more varied performing related things that you maybe want to do in the future?
I think it's opened my mind to artistic collaboration. It opened me up to sharing music with people who are much more primarily visual artists and seeing what they come up with and where it can go from there. And that's always been a part of the Porridge Radio universe. Like, we've always collaborated with our friend Ellie Wintour, who made the set design for both the Every Bad tour and the Waterslide tour. And then she also did set design for the Pompidou show.
Yeah.
And I think I'm also very lucky because I'm very close with my sister, who was a filmmaker, and I shared all these songs with her, and she came back with this incredible idea of this show, and she directed it and she created it with Ellie and built this whole world. And it showed me that you bring people in and the world building just expands infinitely. Yeah. The more you collaborate, the more you share, the more people bring their ideas into your project and just make it better. It was good. That was one of the first times in my life I've been able to step back and go, oh, wow, we really made something special, which may sound insane to you.
No, it doesn't. It was unbelievably special.
It just felt like, okay, this is actually an artistic achievement. I'm proud of myself and I'm proud of everyone I work with. I'm just proud that we pulled this off. I didn't even know it was going to happen. I kind of felt like it wasn't going to work, and then it just somehow did because everyone involved was so talented and dedicated.
A long way away from the Brighton DIY days.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that. You mentioned your sister Ella, who I've had the pleasure of knowing for quite a few years as well, who's made music videos with you guys and obviously was instrumental in this Pompidou setting. I mean, that relationship you've had with her and building out the Porridge Radio world, do you see yourself keeping those type of relationships, whether it's Ella, whether it's other people, in whatever you do following this album?
I haven't really thought too heavily about what comes next. I think the things that I've learned, I don't know how I would unlearn them. I know that, like, my relationship with my sister will hopefully last our whole lives. And so we will.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure we'll collaborate again. Yeah, I've definitely learned a lot from it that I would love to bring into the future. But I try not to think too hard about what comes next, just because I'm trying to put a lid on what's just been in a way that honours it.
Yeah, I think that's healthy. It's been a long and amazing journey.
Yeah.
So let's hear the last song.
The last song already.
They measure wicks and speak in threes. I wait for you, come home to me, but you won't move and you don't see. Searching for with no relief, the shadows of the birds as they fly above me. If you lie very still, it won't happen to you. If you lie very still, it won't happen to you. Now everything in monochrome, cold and grey, and made of stone. He sits upon his precious hill to be alone and take it in. Well, lucky girl, you found a place where you can breathe and heal a leg. But every night the lights go out, you wake up sticking to a cloud. And when you reach it, try to sing, you dream that he comes home again. But he won't come and you won't breathe. There's nothing you can do to keep it in.
That could open that I couldn't even see before. That there were ways to live and be and breathe that weren't tied into just having to be Porridge Radio. I suddenly just felt this release. Like, okay, I'm a person outside of this band, which has always felt a bit confusing to me. Being a front person, being a band leader, I was like, what? Who is that person? That's not me. That's a different person. So now I can just be another version.
Just be Dana.
And then from Porridge Radio, yeah.
They're from the Porridge Radio disappears.
I guess maybe that's like a cage I put myself in.
I wondered if the title of this song and this EP was somewhat of a reference to that. Did you feel like it had become a machine?
I actually didn't, and this really wasn't about being in a band at all.
I've got it totally wrong twice then.
It's because Clouds and the Machine was recorded, they were recorded in the same session, they were all recorded in the same few weeks, and they weren't originally recorded to be two separate releases. I thought it was going to be a double album, or like one long album, and then decided album EP makes the most sense. I'm really glad we did it like that. But it was one of the last songs that was written for that session, and it was very mythological. There was something very supernatural about it, I think. And it was much more about me as this thing that exists in the world, trying to find my place in it.
I feel like we can't now not move on to this big question, which you touched on a little bit, is what do you think is next for Dana, who used to be in Porridge Radio?
Maybe some chilling, maybe having a good time for a bit, looking after myself.
You deserve
Could be
it.
at home for more than 3 days at a time. I'm quite excited. I think I have creative ideas. I have projects I want to do, collaborations, and there's a lot of potential. And I'm just excited to give it the space to grow into whatever it needs to grow into.
That sounds very healthy. Do you feel like you're sort of in quite a reflective place about the history of Porridge Radio? Are you looking back on it, sort of thinking some of the best times, some of the difficult times, things you wished you'd done differently? Anything that's sticking out for you in that sense?
I think I'm glad that I did everything that we did, I'm glad we did the way we did it. But I look back, I can see a million mistakes, a million different ways to do things. But, hindsight, 2020, whatever.
Yeah.
And because it took 10 years, in the last 10 years, the band has been everything. And that means that I've experienced everything through the band. So some of the worst and the best times of the last 10 years all took place in and around the band, because the band was my whole life in that time. And so I guess I am incredibly reflective over it all. And I'm finding it very confusing. I wonder if you asked me in 5-10 years' time if I'd have a different way of looking at all of it. But I just think like, what a weird thing that happened. I can't even tell what it was. At this point, I'm just so baffled by it. It was so much of everything.
We're talking to you in the middle of summer 2025 when you've still got actually some shows left, haven't you? You've got some in August and then some in December as well. But these are shows where you absolutely know they are going to be the last ones. I can't imagine there's not a degree of sadness for you as well, though.
Honestly, I am not sad.
Okay.
There's only a feeling of this is right and it's the end and we're doing it. It's such a slow ending. We announced the end of the band in January, I think. It's now July. In August, we've got 5 shows. In December, we've got 5 shows. And then that's it. And it's really given me a chance to properly say goodbye, for fans to say goodbye, to just be able to do it and give it the proper send-off that I think it deserves. I always feel like I have a duty to everything in my life, and I have a duty to the work. And it's like, I have this real sense of, I'm so done with this project. I am so completely done with Porridge Radio, but I have a huge sense of loyalty and duty to it. And I think that it has served me hugely. And it's also really not served me hugely in different ways over the last 10 years. And I'm just really glad that it didn't implode. Like, it could have imploded at so many points. It could have really just like, the shit nearly hit the fan so many times. And then it just didn't, or it just carried on, or we got over it, we got through it, we worked through whatever it was that seemed completely impossible. And I'm so grateful for it. But also, I just know the day that we announced that the band was over, I didn't know we were going to announce it until the day before we announced it. I told Adam 2 days before. He sent me a text the next day saying, do you want to announce it tomorrow? When we announced the EP. Was it the EP?
I think so,
and then I wrote something and I felt so happy. I was like, yes, we get to announce the end. Like, I'm so lucky that I get to do something else. And I'm so blessed. And then we announced the end. And I think it just felt good. Like, it feels right in so many ways. Maybe I'll feel sad about it next year when it's really over and gone. But just the possibility of taking a leap into the unknown I'm so grateful for that.
You really accomplished a lot with the band, so it makes a lot of sense. I definitely had a bit of an emotional time going back through all of your catalogue, and so it makes a lot of sense to me why you're at this point. You've just left some incredible records in the world, so
thank you.
Congratulations on that.
Thanks, Adam.
So thanks so much for coming to do this with us today. It's
Thanks
been
for having me.
really fantastic to chat with you about it all. I have to ask you, Adam's chosen these 10 songs, but if there was one song you could choose for people to hear, which one do you think it might be?
That is such a hard question to answer because every song is just a fraction of a whole. But I'm going to say Lavender Raspberries because it's still got that summon to it. A lot of the songs have almost lost for me, but Lavender Raspberries has stayed strong.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
You have been listening to Secretly Frequencies. I'm Tom Davies. My co-host was Adam Nealon, and our guest this time was Dana Margolin from Porridge Radio. You can hear all the songs from today's episode on our playlists via the link in the show notes, and do check back in the Secretly Frequencies archive for shows with Ghostly International, Jaguar, Oneida, Zero Boys, Kevin Morby, Sharon Van Etten, and a lot more.
Thanks so much for having me, Tom. The Secretly Society podcast is an original production of the Secretly Group. The project manager for the Secretly Society podcast is Coco Sigala. Robbie Morris is the creative director. Look out for more from Secretly Society wherever you get your podcasts.
It comes through the door and lands out of habit. Can't tell you the shape, but I'm looking straight at it. Followed around, feet on the ground gently. Then I have the urge to jump off the balcony, land with a splash, where passers-by will be river below. Carry me home gently. I love the feeling, I love the space between. I draw a line from my head to the balcony. I draw a line and get carried away with it. Keeping my pockets full, carry the weight of it. Hope for the weak, try to show you the way that it feels hard to speak when I'm under the sway of it. Finger the edges, make out the argument, mark out the edges, make out the influence. She said, take me to God, I can feel it all over me. In time for the summer, lavender, raspberries taken to heaven, rejected as fantasy. It comes through the door and it sings out with gravity. I am a bumper car,